In the words of Kohelet, in the words of Ecclesiastes, a season is set for everything, a time for every experience under heaven, a time for dancing and a time for wailing, a time for birthing and a time for dying, a time for speaking and a time for silence, a time for seeking and a time for losing. And the time for mourning is a complicated time filled with many emotions and memories, both bitter and sweet. And so we begin our service with the 121st Psalm, a psalm that bids us to look up to the mountains. For Bebe was a source of uplift to her family and to her friends, and her goodness will be a permanent marker in their lives, not unlike the lofty peaks of the highest heights. I lift up my eyes to the mountains. What is the source of my help? My help will come from Adonai, maker of heaven and earth. Foot give way, your guardian will not slumber.
Hine lo yanum velo yishan shomer Yisrael Adonai shomrecha Adonai tzilcha al yad yeminecha.
Behold, the guardian of Israel neither slumbers nor sleeps. The Eternal is your keeper. Adonai is your shade at your right hand.
Yomam Hashemesh lo yakeka ve'yareach balayla Adonai yishmor mikol ra yishmor et nafshecha yishmor et nafshecha Adonai tzeitecha uvoecha me'ata ve'ad olam me'ata ve'ad olam.
The sun shall not harm you by day, nor the moon at night. God will guard you from all harm. God will protect your being, now and forever. Mourning is the price we pay for having the courage to love others. And even in grief, we know that the wonder of human life is too complex and too magnificent to be memorialized in endless pain. And the gifts of spirit that our loved ones gave us cannot be measured or weighed, nor can they be lost or even tarnished by time. Even in our darkest hours, we know that some of Bebe's light and her warmth will always be with us, bringing comfort and courage, and in the fullness of time, healing and peace. Death has summoned our beloved Bebe Birkoff, and for her love, which united us in life and which death cannot sever, for her companionship, which we shared along life's path and which still continues in the tenderness of memory, for the gifts of her heart and mind, which brought us joy and happiness, and now have become a precious heritage of the Spirit. For all these and more, we are thankful. In this time of mourning, we listen to the voice of our sacred scripture that brings us the ever-new message of God's nearness, the 23rd Psalm.
Adonai ro'i הרביצני על מי מנוחות, על מי מנוחות ינעלני. נפשי שובב ישובב, ינחני במעגלי צדק, ינחני במעגלי צדק, למען שמו. גם כי אלך בגיא צל מוות, לא אירא רע, כי אתה עמדי, שבטך ומשענתך המה ינחמוני. תערוך לפניי, לפניי שולחן נגד צורריי, דשנת ושמן ראשי, כוסי רוויה. אך טוב וחסד ירדפוני כל ימי חיי, כל ימי חיי, ושבתי בבית אדוני לאורך ימים. אדוני רואי לא אחסר, אדוני רואי לא אחסר.
Eternal One, you are my shepherd. I shall not want. You make me lie down in green pastures. You lead me beside still waters. You restore my soul. You guide me in paths of righteousness for your name's sake. Even when I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. With rod and staff you comfort me. You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You have anointed my head with oil. My cup is overflowing. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in your house forever. There's a beautiful poem by the rabbi and poet Alvin Fine, who spoke of the nature of life, framing it as a journey. Birth is a beginning and death a destination, but life is a journey, a going, a growing from stage to stage, from childhood to maturity and youth to old age, from innocence to awareness and ignorance to knowing, from foolishness to discretion and then perhaps to wisdom, from weakness to strength or strength to weakness and often back again, From health to sickness and back we pray to health again. From offense to forgiveness, from loneliness to love, from joy to gratitude, from pain to compassion, from grief to understanding, from fear to faith, from defeat to defeat to defeat, until looking backward or ahead, we see that victory lies not at some high place along the way, but in having made the journey stage by stage, a sacred pilgrimage. Birth is a beginning and death a destination, but life is a journey, one that Bebe traveled with such dignity, and such goodness, and such fineness in all of her days. A sacred pilgrimage made stage by stage to life everlasting. In our tradition, we think of that journey when we think of the call of God to Abraham, to Lech Lecha, to go forth for your sake to a land that was promised and was filled with promise. And so we turn, as we think of the journey of Bebe's life, to the sacred words in the song, Lechi Lach.
Lechi lach, to a land that I will show you. Lech lecha, to a place you do not know. Lechi lach, on your journey I will bless you, and you shall be a blessing. You shall be a blessing. You shall be a blessing. Lechi lach. Lechi lach, and I shall make your name great. Lech lecha, and all shall praise your name. Lechi lach, to the place that I will show you. Lesimchat chayim, lesimchat chayim, lesimchat chayim, lechi lach.
It's a beautiful story from our tradition that the rabbis share about sort of a competition among the trees to find out who would be the tree that would rule all the trees. And so they came to the shade-bearing tree, and they noticed that when the wind passed through the leaves of the shade-bearing tree, that it made a significant amount of noise. And they asked the tree, "Oh tree, why do you make so much noise when the wind passes through your leaves?" And the shade-bearing tree said, "If I don't make noise, no one will know of my existence." But then they turned to the fruit-bearing tree, like an apple tree. They noticed that when the wind passed through its leaves, that it made hardly any sound at all. And they asked, "Oh, apple tree, why are you so quiet as the wind passes through your leaves?" And the apple tree said, "I'm quiet because my fruit testify to my goodness." And it's true. And when we hear the words of love that are shared by children and grandchildren, speaking about their mother and their grandmother, we know that it testifies to the goodness of Bebe's life. And so it's an honor to call forward Mark, who's going to be followed by Jonathan and then Adam, and each of them is going to be accompanied by members of the family, grandchildren also speaking to the goodness of their grandmother.
Thank you, Rabbi, and thank you, Cantor, for your beautiful singing. And thank you all for coming and honoring us today. I'm the oldest, so I get to go first and test the audience. My brother Jonathan, he's the doctor, and my youngest brother Adam is the sweet one. It used to be cool to be the oldest, but after knee surgery this summer, not so much anymore. Mom was 21 when I was born. She was a kind, loving, supportive, except when it came to math or chemistry homework, intelligent, funny, and cool mom. My friends all loved her and all wanted to be at our house, and I think that Jonathan and Adam had the same experiences with their friends, as I see some of them in the audience today. My mom was also overprotective. I was the first one. So my first birthday slumber party, I was probably 8, 9 years old. And we get there and my friends had a duffel bag and a pillow. I had a suitcase, a sleeping bag, an air mattress, a pump to blow up the air mattress, a DOP kit because I had to make sure to brush my teeth and floss. You get the picture. Even my friends' parents were laughing at me. In addition, when my friends got sick, they went to school. Their parents would say things like, you're sick, you're not dying. If I sneezed in the morning, she would feel my forehead, tell me to get back in bed, and she'd bring me chicken soup. I was pampered, but I always knew that I was loved. I told my children, all 4 of them, to remember 3 important things about their grandmother. 1, she was so sweet and loving. She never met a stranger. My wife Ann says she never met a stranger. She was welcoming to friends, family, neighbors, anyone she encountered in a store or a restaurant. She loved everybody. She was strong. She was a fighter. She told me after she was diagnosed with this disease, she put her arms on my shoulders and she said, getting old is not for the faint of heart, but I want you to know I'm going to fight and I'm going to go down swinging. And she outlived her horrible disease by about 3 years. She fought. She fought till her last breath. In the hospital, I got called at 7 o'clock Thursday morning. They said she didn't have a pulse anymore. And she still fought and hung on for 16 more hours so everybody could come and say goodbye. She was also elegant and hospitable. She was always well-dressed and well-groomed. She was proper. She was modest. Kim, one of the care managers who's here today, told me a story that when she was helping her get ready for bed and helping her brush her teeth, she asked Kim to leave the room, and Kim said, why? And she said, because I don't want to have you see me spit. She was so proper. Some of the caregivers did her hair, nails, makeup. She loved it. She loved to host. She loved to have people to her house. My daughters, Bella and Marie, and my son Alex and my son Ben fondly remember Palm Springs breakfasts, dinners made from scratch. I've had at least 5 people say to me that our mom did more for them, was more of a mom to them than their own mothers. 5 different people. That tells you something about my mother. I was lucky to have her. In fact, Mom, you were such a fighter, I'm almost in denial that you're not here anymore because I just thought you would just keep going on. Some of my fondest memories, driving trips. When I was a kid before cell phones and DVD players, Mom would read to us in the car. I particularly remember Charlie in the Chocolate Factory and James and the Giant Peach. But she was such a great reader, using intonation, different voices for the different characters, that we were transfixed. We didn't want to stop the car for a bathroom break or a meal, and when we got back in the car, Mom, please pick up where you left off. Keep reading. She loved books. She was a consummate hostess. I never forget, she'd make special drinks. My dad loved a real fruity cocktail with vodka and fresh juices and cherries, and I liked that drink too, so she'd say, you ready for me to make you your special drink? She'd always put out trays, cheese and crackers, vegetables cut, sprinkled with seasoned salt. great visits. My mom literally put the happy in happy hour. And she was an artist, a wonderful artist. She was super critical of herself, but she was gifted. I loved watching her create her pottery and exhibit it and set it up at booths at art fairs. I was kind of the cool kid in school because people from the school would go to the art fair and they'd say, "That's your mom?" Yeah. She'd opened a studio in Cedarburg. I was just so proud of her and amazed by her talent. I could go on and on, but I just wanted to provide some insights into the amazing, wonderful woman I called Mom, and I will always call Mom. Mom, I'm glad you aren't suffering anymore, but I wasn't ready to say goodbye, and I will miss you dearly. Even when this horrible disease had ravaged you and you were unable to talk, you always responded to the words, "I love you," either with an "I love you" back or moving your lips to try to form those words, or even with your eyes. Our love for each other runs deep. Rest in peace, Mom. You have earned it. But know that your values, your passions, your legacy will live on in your children, grandchildren, and now great-grandchildren, and in everyone whose lives you impacted so positively. I love you, Mom. My daughter Marie and my daughter Bella would like to just say a couple words. Marie wrote a poem that she's going to read to you.
This is called Amma's poem. Although she has passed on, her memory will forever stay. Remember how she smiled and all of the joy she gave. We will miss Amma forever and think of her every day. Her love filled the entire room. Her love will never ever fade. I know that Amma was an amazing inspiration to all of us, and she always will be. Amma will forever live in our hearts. I will forever miss her, as I know everyone else will as well. But I know that she deserved better than to suffer, and now she gets to see her amazing husband, her mom, dad, all of her puppies, and Vanilla. Amma, you will be forever missed. Love, Marie B.
And now Bella.
Thank you. I apologize in advance for my lack of public speaking skills, but just wanted to share a few words. Grandma's memory will forever be etched in our hearts. Always cherish her gentle touch. Sorry. Warmth of her sweet personality and her shared love of art and animals. Our comforting breakfast in Palm Springs, where she always brought family together, and the times we ventured outside to feed the ducks, are moments that will always bring a smile to my face. Grandma was the epitome of elegance and kindness, a role model whose grace and compassion I will forever admire. Grandma, your presence will be greatly missed, but your love and legacy will continue in all of us. Thank you.
Thank you all for being here, and for those of you who are here virtually. Ellie and I are going to say a few words. I'll start and pass the mic to her. She's going to reflect on the thoughts of the grandchildren. We had a wonderful opportunity last night to meet with the rabbi who gave us that chance to share our thoughts. I would say a common theme, and Ellie can reflect and expound on it, is that what the grandchildren appreciated most was the fact that she shared herself, she shared the things she loved with all of the grandchildren, and that she shared the places that she loved, important legacies. My brothers and I have not had a chance to share each other's speeches, so there may be some repetition in our reflections about Mom, but in Judaism, the tradition says that if there's repetition, it just emphasizes the significance of the words. Mom loved quotes. The words, I'm good, thanks. Good for the moment. The words of Thoreau, Emerson, Whitman, and Frost are attached with small magnets to our refrigerators in Bayside, Palm Desert, and Door County. They served as daily reminders to build castles in the air, and to take the road less traveled. She also reflected often on one by Simone de Beauvoir that reads, "It is frightening to think how you mark your children merely by being yourself." It speaks to the awesome responsibility we have as parents. As we raise our children, we need to be mindful of that impact. Mom took her job as mother and wife seriously and elevated the term housewife to a noble status. She marked us with an indelible imprint of beauty. Since she had 3 sons, Mom set out early to make sure we were trained to manage all aspects of the home. She was not going to let traditional gender role definitions stand in the way of teaching us to clean, cook, do dishes, and run loads of laundry. She made 3 good husbands for our wives. When I interviewed for my job in my OBGYN practice here in Milwaukee in 1996, I later learned that one of my partners commented to her peers that I was more like a woman than any man she had ever met. She meant it as a compliment, and I took it that way. Mom taught me to be a fierce advocate for women, and it's made me a better doctor. The tasks of maintaining a home were not drudgery for her, and she not only took pride in that work, but made it fun. When dinner was being prepared, she turned on the music, louder than Dad would tolerate, and the songs of John Denver, Neil Diamond, and ABBA, among many others, would become a soundtrack to our lives. As Alyssa will attest, I play the music too loud at home as well, in part because my hearing is not what it used to be, but also because it adds joy to the tasks of life. Last night we created a Spotify playlist called The Best of Bebe, so you can download that and enjoy some of her favorites as well. Music also followed us on our travels around the world. She served as a trusted co-pilot, DJ, and map reader on our many family driving trips, and made sure the car was stocked with enough snacks to keep 3 hungry boys at bay. That resulted in a fair amount of trash, and at one Holiday Inn, she sent me to go to the room to look for a bag for the napkins scattered across the floor of the station wagon. I proudly returned with one made especially for that purpose, labeled for sanitary napkins. I think she wet her pants, laughing, and realized she had a lot of work to do to educate 3 boys about more than housework. As a gynecologist, I now know what the bag is for. When Rabbi Shapiro called me this week to express his condolences, he said she was gracious and refined. She was indeed, and she appreciated the finer things. She loved her clothes, her jewelry, and the fine artwork she collected. It was not a quick process when she went in search of these things. But as we now sort through the results of those efforts, we respect her keen eye. She would also make sure that the finer things made their way to the dining table. The royal blend tea was brewed. In a proper teapot, and breakfast was served on Villeroy and Bosch china, even on weekdays. We have a robust collection of cute little glass yogurt jars, since parting with things she admired was hard. When given a chance to relax and spend time by herself, you would find Mom with nature and animals. Her constant companions of dogs and horses gave her solace in times of sadness. She could enjoy solitude, and she would be at peace as she allowed her mind to wander, as she looked at the mountains of Palm Desert or the ripples on North Bay. She found awe in things, large and small, each day. She could be easily distracted by the squirrels in the yard or the elk in the meadow as we nearly careened off a mountain pass. But that was because she saw the forest as well as the trees. These distractions often led to challenges with punctuality, which cultivated a valuable skill of patience in the men in her life. She had an intense curiosity for the world around her and the people in it. She loved her books and magazines, most of which we still have, including past issues of Poodle Review, if anyone was interested. She was a master conversationalist, and when long-distance telephone charges were applied, AT&T thrived. She was exceptionally kind and would admonish us if we spoke ill of people, saying, if you can't say something nice, don't say anything at all. That applied to vegetables as well. As a child, I don't remember a day when she did not smile. She exemplified tenderness as she would kiss Dad each morning and evening and hold him close as they watched TV. Following family tradition and respect for her husband, she would insist that we waited to eat dinner until Dad came home so we could eat together as a family. And as our families grew, so did her love. She embraced our wives as the daughters she never had, and the grandchildren were the beneficiaries of all that we enjoyed as her sons, magnified by the opportunity to spoil. At some level, I hope she recognized that her legacy continued into another generation. Through little Sylvia Rose. Is she back in the room? Not yet. I pray that her spirit now has been set free to rejoice properly in everything she did and everything she was. Most of you joining us today were also marked by Mom, either directly because you knew her or indirectly because you know us. Mom should not have been frightened by the task of motherhood. She was eminently qualified for the job. We should be grateful that we can use her as a guiding light and an example of the best that we can hope to be.
It's hard to follow that. As my dad mentioned, I've been tasked with reflecting on behalf of grandchildren, and I know others among my peers are going to say some words as well, and thank you to Marie and Bella, who also said something. One of the themes that came up as we were reflecting on Grandma yesterday was that she left an indelible mark on everybody whose lives she touched. And as we were sharing stories, the things that I saw were parts of her that were passed down that we all grabbed hold of. Love of animals, love of baking, love of nature, in particular the special places that we learned to call home as well. The cabin, the condo, Palm Springs, her house. And as we reflect, I see her legacy as it lives on in all of us, in different ways, different traits that we all choose to, that we all really choose to exhibit and that we choose to embrace. I was journaling last night, and one of the prompts that was asked of me was, what's the most beautiful sight that you've seen recently, and how did it make you feel? And it felt deeply appropriate. That, through sheer coincidence, my husband and my daughter and I were already here in Wisconsin, visiting from Colorado the week before she passed. We got to see her on Saturday, and seeing my daughter with her great-grandmother, even though my daughter won't remember, and I don't know how conscious my grandmother was of the fact that my daughter was there. It's something my dad and I remember, and that my daughter shares part of her identity. That my grandmother was such a master storyteller that the stories of our family will live on through her and be passed down to another generation. It means more to me than I can say. I'm gonna miss her so much. But I also rest easy knowing that no one in this room will ever forget her, and that her legacy will continue on down through generations, and she will never be forgotten.
Hi everyone, I'm Abra. We're switching it up a little bit, which I feel like is my parents' specialty. You know, my aunt and uncle, both aunts and uncles have 4 kiddos, and it's just me flying solo, so I'm going first. But I just wanted to share a small memory for anyone in the room who didn't know. Ama Bibi, the last 5 years or so, had, it was Lewy body dementia, right? Am I saying it right? Parkinson's and Lewy body dementia, which eroded a lot of her outward expressions of joy and vibrancy. I even struggled to remember, and so looking through photos over the weekend really helped, and it was really awful to see how much the disease ravaged her, but she wasn't gone. Her joy and vibrancy was still there. It was just a matter of how much it manifested on any given day, and for any of you who were able to visit her in the past 5 years, you know exactly what I'm talking about. The last burst of this joy I saw was this past May. We all got together for Mother's Day and the May birthdays in our family, and Ama Bibi was with it. She was smiling, she was lucid, she was interacting not only with her eyes, but like, you know, her whole face. And I don't know why, but I started making funny faces at her, like, you know, or doing something like that. And she started laughing, which really meant a lot, because a lot of times she was nonverbal, or she would respond with her eyes but wouldn't respond verbally, and hearing her laugh made my heart soar. It made me so happy. And it was the best, because those of you who heard her laugh know that it just kind of bubbled up out of her spirit into the universe, and it made your day brighter, and you couldn't help but laugh yourself. And that was the best day, just period, end of story. I laughed and she laughed, and I actually gave her this friendship bracelet that day to remember all the good days, and she was wearing it when she died, and so I just feel very honored that and privileged to have known her and had her as my grandmother, and thank you all for coming.
So I talked about this with my brothers. What order do we want to take? Because, you know, Mark being the oldest, you should have the choice of, you know, do you want to go first? Do you want to go last? And Jonathan said, doesn't matter to me. I'm going to be in the middle. And so we decided Mark would go first, I'd go last. And I referred to him as Paul Molitor, the igniter, and that, you know, I'd be batting cleanup. And I'm very fortunate, like Gorman Thomas, to follow Molitor and Yount, I'll tell you that. First of all, we want to thank all of you from the bottom of our hearts for being here today, in person, virtually. Can't tell you how much it has really meant to all of us, your kind words, your texts, your calls, your emails, your visits, your nosh, your emotional support. I especially want to thank those of you who traveled here from far away, Florida and California, and Illinois and parts in between. Madison, elsewhere. Thank you for being here. It means so much. We want to thank the rabbis for your wonderful, incredible emotional support and your gentle soul. And it means so much to us. We want to thank all the hospice volunteers, workers, nurses, staff at Ascension Columbia St. Mary's Hospital, Ozaki, specifically the Lawless Hospice Unit, for their help and care and advice and wonderful spirit and gentle touch with our mom. Finally, I want to thank everyone at Caring Senior Services who've been taking care of my mom and my dad for 7 years, most intensely my mom for the past 5 or so, 24/7. In so many ways, it was a terribly difficult job, punctuated by moments I know of reward. Over 7 years, they never missed a single shift, 24/7, 365, through the entire COVID epidemic, before and after, and to our knowledge, Mom never got COVID. I mean, just incredible. No doubt in our minds that one of the caregivers' vigilance allowed our mom to die in comfort rather than suffering, and allowed all of us to be with her that last day, to say our goodbyes and give her our love. I'd love to name all of you, but I don't want to miss anybody, and I don't want to take any more time than is necessary, but you know who you are, and we love you and appreciate you and everything you did for our mom. I also want to thank my brothers and sisters-in-law for their never-ending vigilance, advocacy, medical input, hard work, visits, and care, which certainly extended her life and massively improved her quality of life. Together with all of our aunts, uncles, cousins, nieces, nephews, in-laws, family, friends, and loved ones who spent time with our mom, showed her love, reached out, supported her, and supported us. And of course, I want to thank my dear wife, Jennifer, and my dear daughter, Abra, for all of their emotional support, advice, and help over these challenging years and really challenging days. Thank you all. My dad always said, after his parents had gone, that no matter how old you are, you're still an orphan. My brothers have done such a wonderful job describing my mom and her essence, so I thought I would share some personal anecdotes which illustrate my experience with my mom. Rabbi Barry Silberg, who, did our bar mitzvahs. The word is escaping me. Thank you. Officiated our bar mitzvahs and was my confirmation teacher, conducted an interesting experiment in class, and he asked each of us to bring in a photo of our parents. We didn't know why. And we got to class, and he started going through the photos, and his point, which was very eerie and uncanny, was as people start to grow old together, they start to physically resemble one another. And it was quite amazing to see some of these parents and their physical resemblance. And one couple was incredible. And then he gets to the photo of my parents, and there's this long pause, and this sheepish grin emerges on his face, and he said, "Adam, this just doesn't work for your parents. Your mother is far too beautiful." My mom loved that story. She was, as Mark said and Jonathan said, so deeply concerned about our own health and well-being, sometimes to a fault. I was the nerd on the playground with the brown leather buckle orthopedic pilgrim shoes because I had flat feet. What a crisis flat feet were. By the way, probably would have gotten me out of the draft had there been one, but anyway. Little did she know that I weaponized these shoes, turned them into a skill. I was the fastest kid on the playground on the metal slide at Bayside School. I would crouch in the middle of winter on an icy, wet slide, letting my shoes be my skates, setting new land speed records pulled by gravity and wet, icy slide. And no one wanted to get into a battle with me with those shoes. When I was a kid and I was sick, my mom would bring me activity books, comics, records, reading books. She always wanted me to read. Mom, I'm sorry I didn't read more. I do more now. And my favorite, Star Wars cards, as a pick-me-up. She hated junk food and she wouldn't buy it for us, but she made two noteworthy exceptions, buying me a loaf of Wonder Bread twice so I could get the Star Wars card inside, which I still have. She made me school lunch every day without fail, no junk food. Mark mentioned this. Mark was smart. He later told her that he'd trade his apple for a Twinkie. That was a pro move. I loved baking with my mom. It was fertile ground for life lessons. As she spooned the flour into the mixmaster one spoonful at a time, her impatient son said, "Why don't you just pour it in all at once?" Instead of lecturing me, she said, "Okay, give it a try." Poof, a cloud of flour. Same deal with baker's chocolate. "Mom, can I please taste it? It smells so good." "It'll be better." She said, "Okay, give it a try." And boy, do I learn my lesson. She'd take me to a pottery studio in Cedarburg when I got bored. Punctuality, as my brothers have said, was not her strong suit. I would walk across the river to the Cedar Creek shops, and in particular the general store. And my mom would give me a quarter, and boy, could I make that quarter spread at the general store. Health aside, because I bought lots of candy and bubble gum with that quarter, she just wanted me to be happy. She really, as I grew older, shared in my loves and my passions, always interested in my newest Lego creations, taking me to the music store to get my latest album. We enjoyed so many movies and Packer games together. When I really wanted to show my parents Top Gun and Batman in the 80s, she absolutely loved them. She was enthralled and energized in the movie theater. And in turn, she'd recommend movies to me. "Adam, you've got to go see Chariots of Fire." To this day, still one of my favorite movies. She loved it when my friends came over. Laughing and sharing stories with all of them, she was kind of one of the gang. It was such a thrill for me to spend time with my wife and my daughter and my mom and my dad, and what wonderful times we had together in Plum Desert and in Las Vegas. One of the highlights of my year. Late nights at the slots. She's the one who got me interested in dollar slots, by the way. None of this nickel nonsense. Go big or go home, Mom. Breakfasts at the Bellagio Cafe, dinners at Jasmine, the Living Desert. English muffins, yogurt, and fresh grapefruit in Plum Desert with her beloved Fordham and Mason tea and a beautiful view of the snow-capped mountains. Our family-wide trips to Britain and Europe were lifetime highlight reel experiences. Incredible bonds were created. We always knew my mom wanted a daughter. She'd never say it, never. She'd never even let me think it. But when she would tell me the story often that when she was being wheeled out of the delivery room, she told my dad she wanted to try again. She always told it to me in the sense of how much she just loved her children and wanted 3 healthy boys, but we all knew better. I didn't pick up on it until I was an adult, though. She was so quick to tell us that was never the case. She raised the 3 of us to be good people and to be gentlemen who knew how to cook and sew and do dishes and do housework. No gender favoritism in our household. And the ultimate irony of all this is that she was blessed with incredible daughters-in-law later in life. And what a thrill, what an epic thrill that gave her to have the bonds with you and have daughters after all. To dance with, to bond with, to shop with, to hold hands with, to cry with, to hug, and share all the love and affection mothers and daughters share, and without all that damn baggage. My mom showered us with love and taught me how to be a gentleman. She vested in me a love of art, of music, nature, and all creatures great and small, except snakes. She hated snakes, just like my hero, Indy. In short, my mom imbued me with all the qualities and skills I needed to be a man. My mom was an unbending spirit, a force of nature, and most importantly, a force of good who showed us all what it's like to be an authentic, quality person. I miss you more than I can say, Mom. Thank you for everything, and as you would always say to me after I say I love you more.
Thank you for sharing those beautiful, loving tributes to Bebe. Not only the words, but who you are. That is the truest and most beautiful legacy that she leaves behind. You know, I was moved to hear that Bebe was a potter. It was a reflection of her artistic spirit. It's a beautiful thing to reach your hands into the clay and breathe life into an object. It's this very act that our ancient ancestors used to describe the divine. For God, too, was a potter of sorts, forming humankind from the earth, shaping us and forming us from clay. Even the Hebrew word for the first human being, Adam, shares its root with the Hebrew word for earth, Adamah. And each of us is an earthen vessel, and the Holy One breathes the breath of life, the Ruach Hayim, into us, and we become animated. Bebe wasn't just a potter of earthen vessels, for with great skill she breathed the breath of life into her children, her grandchildren, and even her great-grandchild, shaping them and forming their characters and destinies with her love, her wisdom, and her care. And Bebe, in her own way, mirrored the divine act of creation, instilling in her family the essence of life's most cherished qualities. And just as a potter molds clay into a form, Bebe shaped the lives around her, imprinting upon them her beautiful spirit, her kindness, her strength. And through her guidance, her children and their children grew not only to navigate the world, but to make it better, to enhance it, each carrying a spark of Bebe's spirit and her creative soul. And in this crafted world we share, it is not just the vessels we create, but the space within them that holds the essence of life, the impact we leave behind. And Bebe's life was like a potter's wheel on which the story of her family spun and took shape. All of the lessons imparted, the love shared, and the moments cherished are like her signature at the base of the bowl, unique and timeless. And in this way, her legacy is not merely what she crafted with her hands, but also what she molded with her heart, a family that is loving and strong, and each a beautiful work of art. And so we have all come together to honor that journey of artistry, of love and life that Bebe so masterfully composed. And she was an adoring wife, a caring mother, a beloved grandmother, great-grandmother, a dear and precious sister, a dutiful daughter, and a special friend to so many. And she'll be sorely missed by all, for she touched the hearts of so many near her, leaving a legacy as rich and enduring as the clay creations she once shaped, each a testament to her remarkable presence in our lives. Mark and Jonathan and Adam, we think too of Bebe's daughters-in-law, Anne and Alyssa and Jennifer. The loss of a mother transcends age. It's a universally profound sorrow. Bebe was not only the molder of clay, but also the molder of lives, and she nurtured and educated and loved each of you distinctively, imbuing your lives with her unique spirit. Her capacity to dream and reflect, to allow her mind to wonder and to wander, was a gift of immeasurable value because she bestowed upon you all of this during your formative years. Imagination is the cornerstone of a creative and vibrant life. And she emphasized the well-being of the body and the cultivation of the mind, instilling in you the virtue of patience and the ability to be at peace with all of life's choices. In a world that can sometimes seem harsh and difficult, she taught you the strength of gentleness and the significance of embracing your softer sides. She celebrated tradition, understanding its power to connect you to family and community and history, and she cherished moments of awe that she believed in the restorative power of nature and understood that joy and happiness are cultivated, not simply stumbled upon. And through her infectious laughter, Bebe taught the importance of savoring delight with family and friends, and she believed in reconciliation and never parting or going to bed with unresolved conflict with those you love. You can see so much of Bebe reflected in you and your children. Her smile, her laughter, her inquisitive nature, her zest for life, they're mirrored in your essence, the love of arts the shared enjoyment of films, the noble quality with which she traversed the world, all these traits live on through you. And you embody her fierce love and protection of family, her inner tenderness, and the same delight she felt when surrounded by multiple generations under one roof. The memories that you created with your mother, alongside all the wisdom she imparted, is woven into the fabric of who you are and ensures that her teachings and her spirit will endure through time. And Bebe was blessed to know and love her grandchildren, those her grandchildren love. Abra and Alex, Bella, Marie, Ben, Eliana and Mark, Kira, Craig and Dylan, and her great-grandchild Sylvia Rose, whose little voice we heard this morning, which is so meaningful. It's through all of you that your grandmother's life will continue, and each of you is blessed to share your own special relationship with your Ama Bebe, your Gamma, and I know she loved each of you. Many of you fondly recalled how Bebe brought the pages of literature to life, sharing with you her favorite stories like Alice in Wonderland and Misty of, I can't pronounce this properly, but I'll try, Chincoteague, and The Wizard of Oz. Reflecting on the wise words from Oz, a heart is not judged by how much you love, but by how much you are loved by others. And it's clear that Bebe's heart was full to the brim, brimming with your love and adoration. Bebe's presence at every milestone and gathering, from your school events to the family feasts of kugel and matzo ball soup, from grand breakfasts during vacations in Door County or Palm Springs, they were a constant. With Bebe and Marshall at the helm, Hanukkah, spring break, Passover, even the trips to Vegas were woven into the fabric of your memories. Journeys across Europe enriched the tapestry of your shared lives, and you absorbed the lessons, the wealth that lies in the richness of experience, not in the possessions that we hold. Beneath Bebe and Marshall's eyes, you embarked on adventures and beautiful, tranquil moments, whether it was the serenity of the waterfront haven that you shared, horseback riding, or simply appreciating the beauty of nature. Quiet moments often spoke volumes, like when Bebe paused the rush through Parisian streets so you could capture the beauty of the moment, or when she took her time on the Bridge of Gold in Florence, carefully selecting the perfect piece of jewelry for you, her delightful reading of Go the F to Sleep, in her clear, beautiful voice that brought laughter and tears of joy. The open doors of Bebe and Marshall's home, always welcoming their machatanim, the in-laws, also taught you the virtue of an expansive heart, one that includes and embraces the wide family ties. And now, as the living continuation of her legacy, you hold the treasure trove of Bebe's stories, her values, her wisdom. And one day, these cherished narratives will be passed to your own children, and you will ensure the spirit of Bebe's love lives on. Bebe lived a vibrant life. She was born into a loving home, and so we also think of you, Ginny, and to Linda, who I know is connected to us here in spirit and watching over the internet. And we think of Lance, who provided love and support to Bebe, and we call to memory Jerry of blessed memory. Ginny, you pointed a poignant picture of that love with your reminiscences of road trips, sitting sandwiched between Linda and Bebe, who would inevitably doze off with their heads finding rest upon your shoulders. And this tender moment is a testament to the loving journey you all shared as a family. And it was in those formative years that your mother introduced you to the wonders of the library in Chicago, a ritual that kindled Bebe's lifelong connection with literature and the arts. And the three of you, united in the kitchen, would cook multi-course meals from scratch, instilling a sense of unity and tradition. And dinner time was sacred, a time for conversation and connection, a legacy that Bebe cherished and perpetuated with her own family, passing it down from generation to generation, l'dor vador, the values of togetherness and communication, all cultivated and continue to resonate through the years. And Bebe's role as the eldest, especially during the times when your mother was in the hospital, undoubtedly shaped her nurturing and caring heart. And the sense of responsibility and love she embraced then was a profound influence throughout her life. And though Bebe is no longer with us, the love that you share as sisters remains unbroken, stronger even than death itself. Bebe left her childhood home to attend UW, where she pursued her studies. And perhaps the most life-changing moment for Bebe was when she met her beloved Marshall of blessed memory at the University of Wisconsin, finding each other in happenstance of a philosophy class. And Bebe and Marshall, two souls who, perhaps by divine arrangement or sheer determination, found their seats in life next to each other. It was Marshall who first sought Bebe's company, negotiating a seat beside her, a seat that would indeed be his for a lifetime. And their love story began there, and if we believe in Beshert, the Yiddish concept that some relationships are destined, we know that Marshall was always meant to occupy that space, that seat beside her. They were Re'im Ahuvim, loving friends, and sacred companions, rich with beauty and goodness. Marshall captured Bebe's heart and mind, and in turn, Bebe matched his steps in intellect and spirit. Their first date, a lecture, a dinner with Eleanor Roosevelt, was a date that Marshall told Bebe she could tell her grandchildren about, but in reality, he meant their grandchildren. And this incredible date was emblematic of the journey ahead, a gathering of minds as unique as their emerging love. Their life was filled with treasured memories. A first kiss under the stars near the UW Observatory, scooter rides where Bebe broke her tooth, and in response, Marshall's father told him because he broke her, he had to marry her. And all of that led to lifelong commitments, the gentle humor that only those who share a deep connection can appreciate. It was in these moments, both big and small, that the essence of Bebe and Marshall's love was woven. They honeymooned for 6 months. Did you know that? 6 months. What a joy. Symbolic of their union. And their love became a legacy that is retold by their children and grandchildren, a paradigm of partnership and affection, a living example for future generations to emulate. And they brought forth wonderful children and grandchildren, little ones who tumbled at their feet, growing up steeped in the values and virtues that their grandparents held dear, and in everyday expressions of love that they find joy and solace. And today, as we remember Bebe alongside Marshall, we recognize their shared devotion. That was their life's melody. Bebe's love for Marshall and his for her is a testament to an eternal bond. It's this enduring love that we remember, a love that shaped their lives, a love that will continue to guide those who learned by their presence, and a love that remains everlasting. Bebe and Marshall left the University of Wisconsin when he was admitted to Harvard Law School, and Bebe transferred to Boston University, where she briefly worked and studied in the field of speech pathology, lending her efforts and care to autistic children. But when they returned to Milwaukee, Bebe's days and her heart were filled with caring for and raising her 3 boys and supporting Marshall. She cultivated beautiful hobbies, riding horses, loving animals and nature and music, and creating beautiful works of art on her potter's wheel. In Bebe's later years, she became overcome with challenges. She was always a quiet fighter, but she always maintained her modesty and that elegance and beauty that she exuded throughout her life. And I know that these past few years have been particularly difficult, as this joyous woman who loved to communicate was in a sense held captive by her body. But her spirit, it persevered, and she transcended this time of restriction with tremendous grace, even in her final weeks, being able to hold her great-granddaughter in her arms. All of you here today will feel the void Bebe's passing leaves in your lives, but she'll never truly be gone. She will live on in the unique memories you have of her, and you will always remember the fineness of her beauty, like that of Audrey Hepburn, her caring and attentive way, her love of nature. You'll hear her in the call of the chickadees when you appreciate everyday moments of beauty in nature. You'll see her in your mind's eye baking in the kitchen while listening to classical music, and never sitting down until everyone else was seated, being a wonderful hostess. You'll remember her in the stories of her life that you'll continue to share, and in that way she has truly gained immortality. And just as Bebe once brought form to clay, shaping it with intention and artistry, so too did she sculpt the lives of those around her with the same deliberate love and attention. She was an artist, leaving an indelible mark upon the world, not just in the objects that she created, but in the hearts and minds she touched. Each of you carries within you the Ruach Chaim, the breath of life that she nurtured, the spirit she cherished, and the love she so generously gave. Her legacy, a collection of living vessels, continue to resonate with her teachings, her laughter, her grace, and her resilience. Yehi Zichronah Livracha. May the name and memory of Bebe Birkoff therefore abide among us as an eternal blessing, and may the source of peace and comfort to all who mourn among us. And let us say, Amen. Adonai natan v'Adonai lakach, yehi shem Adonai mevorach. God has given, God has taken away. Blessed be the name of God. Please take a moment of silence now as we remember Bebe. May the memory of Bebe Birkoff endure among us as a blessing. In your own time, O God, when we too are called to enter eternity, may we leave this life secure in the faith that in your light we shall see light. In life and in death we cannot go where you are not, and where you are, hope endures. Sustained by this assurance, we invoke your name, Almighty God. Please rise now for El Malay Rachamim.
שוכן במרומים, המצא מנוחה נכונה, תחת כנפי השכינה. עם קדושים וטהורים, כזוהר הרקיע מזהירים. את נשמת ברניה רייזל שהלכה לעולמה. בעל הרחמים, יסתיריה בסתר כנפיו לעולמים. ויצרור בצרור החיים את נשמתה. אדוני הוא נחלתה, ותנוח בשלום על משכבה, ונאמר
Compassionate God, eternal Spirit of the universe, grant perfect rest in your sheltering presence to Bebe Birkoff, who has entered eternity. O God of mercy, let her find refuge in the shadow of your wings, and let her soul be bound in the bond of everlasting life. God is her inheritance. May she rest in peace. And let us say, Amen.
Friends, services will continue at Spring Hill Cemetery. We will not be going in a funeral procession. For those of you attending services at Spring Hill, we're going to be in the mausoleum today. Following entombment, everyone is cordially invited back here to Congregation Shalom to meet with the family, share a memory, and be together. At this time, we ask that everyone stand and remain standing until the casket has left the sanctuary. For those of you coming to the cemetery, we have maps and QR codes with directions. At this time, we invite the pallbearers forward.
Le dor vador, le dor vador, le dor vador, nagid God lecha, ulenetzach netzachim, ulenetzach netzachim. קדושתך נקדיש לדור ודור, לדור ודור, לדור ודור נגיד גודלך ולנצח נצחים ולנצח נצחים.